Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Liz. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys some strawberry themed DIYs. I have so many requests for all sorts of different fruit and I wanted to do one dedicated to strawberries. A huge thank you to Cricut for sponsoring today's video, and let's jump into our first DIY. So I'm going to get started in Design Space. Now I put together this design right here. I'm going to have all of the projects that I use in today's video linked in my description box. So if you have Cricut and you have Design Space, you will be able to get to these designs and use them for yourself. And one thing I'm going to do is attach my strawberries so that when I go to cut them out, they are exactly where I want them to be. Now I am going to be using iron-on vinyl for this DIY, so you're going to want to make sure that each of your mats are mirrored. Click that little mirror button so that each of those little pieces to our project are mirrored. You'll click continue, and I'm just going to click on everyday iron on. And I like to set my pressure to more is what I normally do. And these are the materials that I'll be using today. This gray blush surprise iron-on pack is absolutely adorable, and the pink polka dot in here is absolutely perfect for my strawberries. So that's what I'm going to use for that. And then I'm going to take some black and green and this really pretty brown color. And those are all the colors I'm going to be using for today's project. For my pattern iron-on, you're going to want to make sure you put that pattern face down and cut it out that way. When you're doing iron-on, you always want to make sure that you're doing it shiny side down. For this particular material, the shiny is going to be where you see the pattern, and you want that to be face down. So I'm just going to cut out my strawberries. I'll cut out my words, my sign, and my leaves for my strawberries. And then while those are cutting out, I am going to take a canvas. Now this is a canvas that I picked up in a pack from Michael's. I've had a huge pack of them, so that's what I have right now, but I know that you can find these as well at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go through and remove all the staples because I am going to be doing a reverse canvas sign on here, so I wanted everything to be nice and flat. So I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver and my pliers to get all those staples out. And then I'm just going to use some spackle from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just using that to fill in the holes on the front. I don't think that the Dollar Tree canvases have staples in the front, and a lot of the packs that I've purchased from Michael's in the past haven't had them, but this particular pack did. So I'm just taking that spackle and putting it right over those staples so that they'll be harder to see when I paint them. I didn't want them to be visible. You could also take the staples out. I was just being a little too lazy. So after I've got that to the side to dry, I am going to take all of the vinyl that I cut out, and I'm just going to start weeding it. Now, can I say that weeding iron-on is so much easier than weeding regular vinyl? With regular vinyl, you have to make sure that you're holding it all so it doesn't fall and stick to another piece of your project, and then it all gets messed up and ruined. Iron-on vinyl isn't sticky. The only sticky part is the backing. So you don't have to worry about, holding every little piece and making sure it doesn't touch the other pieces. It's so much nicer. So iron-on is something that I've really been enjoying working with. So I'm just going to go through and weed it all out. In my sign, I did slice out the words strawberry patch. So I'm just going through and taking out those letters. I will make sure that all your little pieces, like in your R and in your B's, that those are all gonna stay in so that, they look like R's and B's. And I will just weed all of that out. Now, what I'm gonna do is take that canvas, I'm gonna take my Cricut Easy Press, and I am going to iron the back of the canvas. You don't want to do the front, you want to do the back. At least in my experience, when I did the front, even started to, you could see little burn marks on there. So I'm going to use the back of the canvas, and I'm going to iron it all out so it's all nice and smooth. And then I'm taking that frame just to kind of frame out the sign and where I want everything to be. So then I'm going to take my patch sign and on my words, and I'm going to lay those out where I want them. I'm going to take a Teflon sheet just to protect it, place that on top, and then you want to make sure that you follow the settings for your iron-on material, the temperature, and how long that you need to press it for. So I just did that, and I'm going to remove the carrier sheet for both of those pieces. And then I'll just follow that same process again. I'll put my frame on top, and then I'll do my next piece, which is the strawberries. I'll lay those out where they are, and then this is where I was saying where I cut them out to be attached. You can see that they are exactly where I had them in design space with the distance apart from each other. And then when I go to put on the leaves, it'll be the same thing, and I can just do those all at once. So I just used my heat press to attach my strawberries down, and then here I'm going to put my leaves down. Again, they're the same distance apart like they were in design space, so it makes it really easy that way. And I'll just heat those up, put that on there, and then once all of my decals are on my canvas, I'm just going to trace around my canvas using a pencil. I will cut that out. And then I'm going to paint my frame red. This is lacquer from Waverly Chalk Paint. And I'm going to give the entire frame just a good coat of this. Now I debated leaving it like this or distressing it. And in the end, I decided to take some white chalk paint and give the entire thing a good distressing. I really like the dimension that it gives to it. It doesn't look so plain. And I just thought it turned out really cute. So I just took this brush, dabbed some white paint on there, and then just started dragging my brush all along the entire frame so that you still have that red peeking through, and it just looks farmhouse and fun. So that is what I did with the frame. And then after that is completely dry, I'm going to hot glue my frame down to the canvas. And I just do this so that I can staple it in the back without it all moving. So I just use my staple gun and staple it to the back, and that's all you gotta do for this DIY. Now for the second project, again, I'm going to go into Design Space to cut out my vinyl with my Cricut Explore Air 2. That is the Cricut that I have, and I absolutely love it. It's so much fun to create designs and be able to cut them out with my machine. So it's one of my favorite things. It's one of the things that got me into crafting. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a circle. You aren't going to cut this circle out. This is just a way for me to kind of visualize what my project is going to look like and to help me size things. So I'm going to take this circle and size it to the circle that I have and that I'm going to be using. I typed in the word berries and the number 5. Now I needed a cent sign, so I went over to images and typed in 5 cents. I wasn't exactly seeing what I wanted, so in the end I did just type in cents, and I went through and I found a couple designs that had the number 5 and the cent symbol, and I clicked on those and imported them into my canvas. And what you can do is you can kind of steal that 5 and cent sign out of those projects. So for example, I'm going to click on this farm fresh milk sign or design, and I'm going to ungroup it. I'm going to delete the things that I don't need, and then when you get to the point where you can't delete it anymore, you're going to click on contour. I'm going to click on hide all contour, and then I'll click on the 5 and the C, and then I'll click out of it. You'll see that I accidentally left the little banner part, so I'll go back over to contour, I'll click on the banner, and then when I go back, all I'm left is with the 5 and the C, which is perfect. So I just went over, deleted that other 5 that I had put in there, added the 5 and, not the C. Why do I keep calling it a C? The cent sign. And I just size those to how I want them to be. And once I am happy with the placement of everything and the size of everything, I'm just going to go ahead and hide that circle so it doesn't get cut out. I will attach them all together so it cuts out exactly like it looks like right here on my canvas in Design Space. I'll click on Make It, and I'm just using regular vinyl for this, so no need to mirror it. I'll click Continue, and then I'll just adjust my dial on my Cricut Explore Air 2 to vinyl, and I will get that cut out. I picked up a pack of these wooden round circles and I'm going to take my Craft Smart paint in parchment. This is just like an off-white color, and I painted the entire circle in this color. Once that was all dry, I'm going to take my Waverly Wax and Antique, and I'm just going to give this a bit of distressing. I'm going to go around all of the edges, and then whatever was left on my brush, I just started dragging it back and forth to give it a nice distressed look. And then to kind of blend it all together, I decided to take a baby wipe and I just went over the entire thing. I went all over it, tried to kind of just blend it all in, make those lines look not so harsh. And I really like the way that this looked. I feel like it gave it more of like a dirty look, like it had been worn rather than looking like it had been painted. Hopefully that makes sense. And then once I was done with that, I just went back over all the edges with that same Waverly Wax and Antique just to make the edges stand out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to take that decal that I cut out that says berries 5 cents, and I'm just going to weed the entire thing using my little weeding tool from Cricut, and I'm just going to remove all of the pieces that I don't need in all of the letters. And then I'm just going to take some Cricut transfer tape. I will size that to my decal. And I also used this same piece of transfer tape for all my projects today. It's really helpful to use the same piece of transfer tape. Then you're not wasting so much and you can use the same thing multiple times. So I'm just going to add my transfer tape to my decal. I will burnish it on there just with my scraping tool, remove the transfer tape, and then place my decal on my circle. And I tried to center it as best as I possibly could, and when I got it where I liked it, I'm just going to burnish it again using my scraping tool from Cricut, and then I will remove the transfer tape. Now I bought the most adorable crate from Michaels. This was $12.99. I got it 50% off. And I just loved this. I thought it was so cute. So all I'm going to do is add a couple dabs of hot glue. I will add my wooden circle to the front. And then I'm going to take some burlap that I had extra of from burlapfabric.com. And I'm going to add my burlap into the crate. And I just kind of messed with it a little bit until I got it where I liked it. Just kind of tucked it in here and there, and, you know, zhuzhed it a little bit. And then I also picked up these faux strawberries from Michaels. They were $14.99, again half off. So I just started grabbing handfuls, putting them inside my little crate, and that's all you have to do. This is so easy, but I think this is my favorite project from today's video, and it was by far the easiest. I just love the way that this looks. I think it is so adorable, sitting on a shelf or in your kitchen. I just love it. This is by far my favorite. Now for this one, again, I am just using this mason jar as a visual for this project. I have the mason jar sized to the wood mason jar cutout that I'm going to be using in today's project. I'm going to take these strawberries that I also got from the images section of Design Space, and then I just wrote out jam. I have my strawberries and my leaves in 4 separate sections so that they're all going to cut out separately. the leaves will be on the same page and the strawberries will be on the same page, but I'm not going to worry about attaching them because I'm going to be using foam for this DIY, which I have never done before, and I thought it would be really fun to kind of go outside the box a little bit and use a material that I haven't used. So I did move my strawberries a little further apart, and same with the leaves because I haven't cut out with foam before, so I wasn't sure if it was going to mess up and rip, and if it did, I wanted there to be space in between it, but I am so surprised by how well this cut out. Was really impressed. So I'm going to click on more materials and I'm going to search for foam, and I'm just going to click on the craft foam for my settings and then click done, and then I will just place my foam on the blue mat. This is the least sticky of all the mats. I didn't want my foam to end up sticking on the mat and ripping, so I made sure to go with the light blue mat here, and I'm just gonna stick my foam on. I did end up clicking more pressure and with the strawberry portion, with the red portion. I didn't with the leaves, and with the red one where I did more pressure, it's gonna cut each piece 3 times. Or 4 times. It's gonna go over it 4 separate times, which I don't think is necessary. When I did the green leaves, it cut out just fine, so I was just doing a little bit of experimenting to see what would work best, but this cut out really well. Now another tip, you can see over on the far left that gray rolling piece. I don't exactly know what it's called. That's holding the mat and the material in place. It is kind of squishing that foam, and you can see that it's leaving an indent in there. One way that you can avoid that is just by moving your foam over, and then you'll have to move your design in design space over so that it will cut out on the material. Hopefully that makes sense, but just a way to avoid that. And then I just peeled off the foam from the mat. It came off really easy. And I also cut out the word jam. I weeded that. Now I'm going to take this wooden cutout of a mason jar that I have. I had several of them. I got them cut out, I want to say last year or the year before, from Geo&Dan. I'll have their Facebook group linked down below if you want to check them out. So when you paint these kinds of pieces, one thing that I like to do is if too much paint gets in kind of those engraved lines, I take either a safety pin, or right here I'm just using a flathead screwdriver, and I'm just kind of going in those lines and cleaning out the paint so that those lines are more visible and they're not so covered in paint, if that makes sense. So it's just going to let those engraved lines show a lot more than before. And then I'm going to take my strawberry and I'm going to start adding glue onto the back. I did end up switching over to some Mod Podge. I liked that better because then I felt like glue wasn't seeping out in between all the lines or underneath it, and then you weren't seeing it. So that's what I would recommend with the foam, is just doing some Mod Podge. It worked perfectly for me. So after I did that first one is when I switched over to the Mod Podge, and it worked great. So I'm just going to place those right where I want them. Just kind of eyeballed it. There really wasn't any rhyme or reason to it, and I just did that with both of my strawberries and both of my leaves. And then I'm going to add my vinyl decal with that jam word. Again, using that same piece of transfer tape, I'm just going to burnish with my scraping tool, remove my transfer tape, and then add it onto my mason jar, scrape it on there again, and then remove the transfer tape. And I'll have all of my materials and everything linked down in my description box, so if you see a pattern or a color that you like, you'll be able to find it easily on Cricut.com. Now I'm going to take this gray and white buffalo check ribbon that I had. I'm going to take a piece of it and wrap it around the top portion of the mason jar and hot glue it in the back. And then I'm also going to take some twine and wrap it around a couple times and tie a double knot. Now I did end up redoing this part and putting the knot in the back. Don't know why I put it in the front. And then I'm just going to tie a simple bow using that same ribbon, just like a shoelace kind of bow, 2 loops, and then tie them together. And then I'm just going to hot glue that right down on top of the twine and the other piece of that ribbon. I'll dovetail the ends on both the sides, and that's all you got to do for this DIY. I think that this turned out so cute, and it was so much fun using a different material besides vinyl. Like I said, I'd never tried foam before, and I absolutely love the way that it turned out. I love the 3D effect that it gives, and I just think it was so fun. And it was just foam that I got from the Dollar Tree, so it wasn't anything fancy, and it just turned out really, really well. And that's it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Again, a huge thank you to Cricut for sponsoring today's video. I'll have all the materials that I used in my description box if you'd like to check them out. And let me know which project was your favorite. I've been loving all 3 of these. The strawberries are just getting to me. If you want to see more strawberry DIYs, or if you have another specific kind of fruit or summer kind of theme that you want to see me do some DIYs with, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!